The MIW Disruptive Podcast is sponsored by Mentorch. Mentorch is a social development network for mentorship. Go to mentorch.app to seek knowledge and leave a legacy.
Welcome to the Disrupted Podcast by Minority Innovation Weekend. Minority Innovation Weekend is a weekend summit dedicated to aiding minority innovators launch tech-focused startups, exploring emerging technologies, and showcasing tech startups that have a minority founder or co-founder. During each episode, we will discuss innovation, news about tech startup, as well as the startup ecosystem, and interview people of color throughout the startup ecosystem. Welcome to the MIW Disrupted Podcast, hosted by Sir Walter and Jerome. Today we got a very special guest. This young man, yes, I'm calling him young. Yes, this young man, founder and CEO of We The Plug, an organization that advocates tech and innovation, entrepreneurship in Black and Latino communities across the United States and across the world. I'm talking about Luis Martinez. How you doing, brother?
I'm straight like 9:15, brothers. How about yourself?
Doing good. Fantastic.
All right.
Let's get kicked off. What was your inspiration behind the starting the We The Plug organization?
Well, it kind of actually started as a local effort. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to kind of get a footprint of what the tech community looks like for us, the Black and Latinx community here locally in San Diego. So I got a couple of friends, and we got together, and we kind of complained for about 45 minutes about what's wrong with the space, why they ain't letting us do X, Y, and Z. And, after about 45 minutes of that, I kind of was like, all right, this is cool, but we got to come up with some solutions. And so, meanwhile, I'm also, are you guys familiar with Startup Grind?
Yes.
Okay, so I also run the chapter here in San Diego as well. So yearly they have a conference in Silicon Valley. It's called the Startup Grind Global Conference. And so go up there. So you have like the conference, which is 2 days. And then you have like the Director Summit, which is like the first day and like the rest of the 3. So it's weird. So Monday is the first day of the Director Summit. Tuesday and Wednesday is the actual conference. And then Thursday, Friday is the continuation of the Director Summit. Excuse me. So I went up there, and the first day I said, you know what? Maybe I could continue this conversation with the Black and Brown founders that are, going to be at the conference. And so the first night I was there, I said, you know what? I'm going to put up an Eventbrite, try to see if I can recruit some Black entrepreneurs to the coffee shop, talk it up a bit. So I'm also a lean innovation consultant. So this is what we call customer discovery when we do this. So I was kind of conducting my own customer discovery and asking those people questions. And so I said, you know what? They're going to come to the coffee shop. I'm expecting about 5 to 7 people, maybe 10 if I'm lucky. And talk to folks, exchange information, and then see where it goes from there. So 80 people showed up. It was crazy. I didn't expect that many people to show up. There were people, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Silicon Valley or the Bay Area in general, but we were in Redwood City, which is dead center in Silicon Valley. And I had people driving from Oakland. So if people understand the distance, like that's not, a 20-minute drive. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so people were going there just to gain access to the networking, which is really the most important part of all conferences anyway. Let's just keep it a buck on that. But there was a lot of people who were talking about things like access to capital. We were talking about building community. We were talking about a whole bunch of other stuff, especially when these founders are going through incubators and accelerators and they're not getting the proper guidance that is needed for their particular situation, since we're always behind the 8 ball and stuff. And so I took that information, I So during when everyone was speaking, I was like, damn, I want to capture this somehow. So I got a blank sheet of paper. I got everyone's email, contact information. I created a Slack channel immediately. And so 2 weeks after, making the Slack channel, people were conversing, connecting with each other. And then a woman, ironically from DC, Viola, she actually got into an accelerator program there locally just off meeting someone off of the Slack channel. He was a program director. And so I found real value in that. And so I was like, okay, we got something here. So I came back to San Diego, got with a friend of mine and was like, yo, I don't know what's going on, but I got something. And so that's how We The Plug kind of got started. And we just really started building off of that. And it was just really off of a need that I saw was lacking, and having a community that was for us and by us and people that were leading it, from our perspective.
Gotcha. Well, that's dope. That's dope. So like, what type of workshops and like events do you typically provide for members?
So there's a progression, right? So we've gone through, even though we've only been around since really, I know my business partner would say June of last year. I really say January personally. That was the beginning of the process. But nevertheless, we actually started doing monthly meetups in the beginning, right? And so we did that for a while, and then that led up to our local startup week here in San Diego. And so we did a huge event where we had a pitch event, and we ended up getting Republic, which is a crowdfunding platform for startups, to sponsor that. And so we had 10 Black and Brown founders pitch, and then we had 3 winners, and then the 3 winners got $5,000 onboarding credit from Republic. And so we just kept building off of that. And so kind of fast forward into that, now, we're kind of doing programming. So we're about to start an incubator probably in late September. And so we kind of got into programming because we realized that when we were so first what we were doing is we were doing assessments to see if founders were in the early stages, right? So there's different parts of early stage. You have early stage like ideation. Then after that, you have early stage, like, you have a couple customers, and then you have early stage where you have some traction and you're getting ready to raise a round or go after funding. So we were doing the assessments. We would say, okay, hey, you're at this stage. Okay, we're going to connect you with this accelerator, this incubator, blah, blah, blah. And then we quickly realized there were things that were happening within that caused us to say, you know what, hey, I have an education background in training, management, and leadership and curriculum. My partner does too. Let's just do this ourselves. And so we get to have the capabilities, and that's what we're kind of pivoting and transitioning to. And
Awesome.
and there's other events that's going to happen. So we're going to have this thing called studio sessions, where it's going to be kind of a hackathon, but more of a hip hop feel to it. We're also going to have a conference. And so just to kind of give you the baseline, we've actually transformed into a company that is specifically dealing with early stage founders. We want to focus on talent development, and we also want to focus on basically building a business. In the industry, there's too much talk about going after venture capital, which is great, and I'm pretty sure you've heard plenty of times about the 1% of venture capital that's going to Black founders. And so that's true. That is an issue. I don't want to take away from that, but also we need to recognize that we need to be better at our product market fit. We also need to be better at, hitting our target customers and, generating revenue from, different places within your company, what it is that you're trying to do, and then gain traction. So it's no different than a young rapper that's coming out, right? Now, back then, when I was growing up, in the 90s, you had to go to a showcase, i.e. a pitch event, right? And then you'll have your A&Rs and your independent labels in the back, which would be your VCs. So VCs are more like your A&Rs, and then you have your angel investors are more like your independent labels, your rap-a-lots and things of that nature. And so when you go to, the major label and get signed, and that's basically an advance, which is you getting money for your business or, your company, right? And then they spend that money on marketing, promotion, et cetera, and you got to pay that money back once you sell the album. Well, it's no different when you do venture capital, right? You get that money, they're going to want their money back 10 times, blah, blah, blah. You use their resources. So it's all in the same concept, like once you really think about it. But now it's more of the rappers, they got to have SoundCloud, how many downloads you have, how many Instagram followers you have. So now you got to have a little bit of traction before we honestly give you some type of money, even if it's like 25K or 50K.
That's interesting. I don't think I've heard it put that way, as because the album is a project. It's a musical project, so it's a business. So wow, I can definitely see the relationship there. Speaking on the pitch competition, is that something you want to do annually, or what's the frequency that you want to put those on?
So what we want to do eventually is we actually want to, this is another event that we actually plan on doing, a venture summit, but it's going to be strictly for Black and Latinx VCs, right? So when you go to a regular venture summit, what happens is the actual audience that's there are industry leaders. Like, so you have people that are running programs, and you have ecosystem builders and gatekeepers, right? And so I kind of want to flip that into having that founder in that seat instead of the gatekeeper, because what's happening is the information is being missed, right? So you have the VC saying, okay, these are the latest trends. Then it translates to the gatekeeper, and then the gatekeeper is telling the founder something a little different, right? So we want that direct-to-consumer relationship. So you heard it from the horse's mouth. So if we can get the industry leaders in venture capital, right, to tell a founder, look, these are the new trends in aerospace, or these are the latest trends in the biomedical field or life science, etc. So we want that direct-to-consumer relationship to where you can actually apply these things, the 10 things that VCs look for in a startup. You can take those 10 things, go back to your team and say, hey guys, look, we gotta get our stuff together. We have a checklist, and you knock that out. So there's something tangible once you leave. There are too many events where it's kind of like I don't know, it's like Fashion Week. It's like networking and just, shooting the stuff, but it's just like, no, we got to have some tangible things coming out of these workshops and these conferences.
So you mentioned that you have a partnership with the Republic. Was that
Republic? Yeah, Republic.
Yeah. So how did you establish that partnership or partnerships that you have?
Oh, I went out and asked. It's not no magic trick. It's not no. There is no secret sauce. I use LinkedIn. I saw, and I just was bold enough to say, hey, like I would love to, I messaged the person that's in charge of the partnerships, the director of partnerships, and hit her up. It was like, hey, I would love to talk. I have this video. And mind you, this is when I had nothing. All I was doing, I didn't even have a website. I didn't even have a website at all. Like all I had was just meetups. That was it. Monthly meetups, and there were people that were just locally based here, So I didn't have no one nationally. So I just asked. And the thing that I like to say with people is that sometimes they can get intimidated by those titles and those prestige. Like, damn, like I don't know if they're gonna hit me. And it might be true, but LinkedIn is your best friend. And I just was hitting people up. Hey, I'm doing this. I was also, what helped me, I got to keep it a buck too. What also helped me was being involved with Startup San Diego. So we end up getting a partnership with them, and because I was heavily involved at the time with them, and so with their startup week, and I was doing workshops and different things with them. And so it was easier for me to kind of cultivate that into one package and to say, we're going to have people show up because it was the week of. So there's a continuation and we're going to have people show up. And we end up having about 70 people show up, which is great for San Diego. I'm going to tell you right now, like that is excellent. So, but yeah, so just asking, man.
All right, since you started this year, how have you, or how has the We the Plug business, how have you pivoted for COVID?
So we were pivoting anyway before COVID. So one of the very first things that we did before COVID is we actually built out an online global community platform. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to touch everyone around the world. We wanted a global community. So you have your cities where they have community pockets here and there, right? There's a community in LA, there's a community in the Bay, there's a community, Austin, Miami, Baltimore. Speaking of Baltimore, I don't know if you know Matt Conwell, but that guy is
Yeah, we do.
awesome.
Yeah.
So there's always a group of people that somewhere, and so what we wanted to do is create that global community and connect those people with individuals that are in Europe and in Africa. And so by me putting that first event, like putting it on LinkedIn and showing everyone was very intrigued about what we were doing. And so I was like, don't worry about it. We'll let you know what we have in store. And so we kept doing events. People were very interested. And, I'm kind of I wouldn't say controversial. I'm more of I speak my mind on things. And so my opinions can be very interesting. So, and there's always a method behind the madness. So I don't just say things out of thin air. But people actually listen to what I have to say. I don't know why sometimes, but they do. And so they just always was like, hey, just let me know what you're doing and we'll be able to support. So finally, when we came out with the platform, just people just joining, people connecting, and this was right before COVID. I want to say this was like February, late February, because when we went to Silicon Valley, we didn't have it yet. And so this year, when we went to Silicon Valley, instead of 80 people showing up, we had 140. So it grew. And so we were mad because we didn't have the platform ready. And that would have been a prime opportunity to say, hey, everyone, we have a platform. Please, register for it. Connect with everyone on there and blah, blah, blah. And so that's when we decided, hey, we gotta get on this. And so we put it up, got people on the platform, and then COVID hit, right? So we were prepared. And so we just shifted all our stuff to digital and did all of our workshops on there. We did all of our conference calls, obviously, talking to startups. Even startups were having trouble trying to figure out what they were going to do in the future. And so we're in a unique position where we're a company that helps startups. So we're not, so we're like the middle person in between the actual founder and the VCs, and the VCs will talk to us because it's not like we're asking them for money. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's how we pivoted, and we were going to do that anyway. And just so happens that it really worked in our favor because we do everything on the platform. People are connecting. We have our intro video in there. We have everything that we do, our strengths and weaknesses. If people want to reach out for consulting, they can reach out to me. They can reach out to my business partner, Cristiano, who's a chief operating officer, and other people that we're connected with within the space. So it's been a seamless transition. We were really ready for it even before COVID. And so I think when it's all said and done, we're actually going to be better for it because now we're transitioning into other parts of We the Plug, which I don't know if you care to talk about, but yeah. So
All right. So, like, is there like a type of criteria or rubric you use to determine like which founders you plan on working with?
so at first we didn't, right? As long as you needed help, we were willing to help you, but we knew that can only go so far, and that can lead to time management issues. Basically, people wasting your time, energy, and resources. So now we've narrowed that down. So whatever you are. So before it was okay. You reach out to me, email. Let's do a hour-long conversation and see where we go. And the conversation may or may not go dead, right? So that's not what we do anymore. So if someone wants to reach out, I go immediately, okay, if you want to set up a conversation, we can do that. At most, I'll go 30 minutes. Most of the time, I go 15 because I need to understand within those 15 minutes where you are, where you at, and what you want me to help you with, and how I can give you value. I know I can give you value, but if basically, I'm not going to fight for you if you're not going to fight for yourself. So that's basically what I need to find out in those 15 minutes. And so I just tell everyone, okay, go to the platform. And so quick note about the platform. The platform is actually still in beta. So what we're going to do within the next couple of weeks is actually it's going to become a membership. And so folks are going to pay a membership, and there's going to be resources that come with that, obviously, and perks. And so every level will be different. So I believe it's going to be 3 tiers. So I think the lowest is going to be like $9.99, and then it's going to go to $29.99. And I think the other one is maybe 40 or 50. But I think that might be for like instructors or something like that. But the point is, no matter what level you're at, like there's always a price for you to start at, and then as you gain more resources, then you can move up and stuff. So yeah, that's basically how we pivoted, and we're going to go from there. So
When I was researching your company, I came across the 1,100 and the 10 initiative. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So the 10 is compromised, but so the 1,000. So we wanted to come up with an initiative, a number that's not too like astronomical, right? So we want to get 3 million Black people jobs and startups. Like nah. That's doing too much, man. Like we gotta narrow that down. So I wanted something tangible, that's reachable, that we can set our sights on and go from there. And so we came up with the 1,110 initiative. And so the 1,000 is help 1,000 people help them build and start a tech or innovation company, right? So you don't necessarily have to be in tech, right? But eventually your company has to be tech enabled, right? Because that's just the wave of where we're going. And so that's the 1,000 part. The 100 part is we wanted to get 100 Black and brown folks jobs within the tech space, no matter if it's with the 1,000 that we helped start or working at a major company like Apple, Google, your I don't know, this your corporate whatever. Like, you get what I'm saying? So whether you're working with like Bath Iron Works or Grumman, whatever, right? If we can get you a job within those companies, then that's all that matters. You feed your family, you take care of yourself. That's all that matters. Now the 10 is where it gets convoluted, right? Because the 10 was supposed to be visit 10 places and to promote this initiative, but obviously I necessarily can't do that during COVID. So which is actually comes in handy when we have the platform, because we have founders from different parts of Africa, Botswana, South Africa, Nigeria, Belgium, Germany, and London. So I can obviously, from a virtual standpoint, reach those individuals. And so hopefully we get back to that. Hopefully we get back to that so we can spread the initiative. So far, obviously, we've been locally here in San Diego. We're lucky enough I live in California, and we have two major markets for tech, right? Probably one is obviously the capital, which is, Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, and the other one is actually LA. Now, LA is actually, they have a great, thriving community they don't really have anything. And so I'm actually setting my sights on, kind of putting footprints there to build. But we've been to LA, we've hosted events there, partnered with Microsoft to do an event, and also partnered with Startup Grind to do an event in Silicon Valley as well. And so I actually plan on, once 2021 rolls around, we'll get back to quote unquote normal life, taking a bit more trips up there and connecting with folks and making things happen and making me the plug better for it. So.
Gotcha. So, of course, it's important to help like young people who desire to be in business. So, like, what type of opportunities and programs that you have for like someone who's in high school?
That is a good question, because we don't necessarily cater to high schools. That's not, the premise of what we do. However, eventually, as time goes along, we're going to venture down that lane, whether it's through us specifically or if we're going to partner with someone that does that program. And for right now, that's not a primary focus. I think our primary focus is obviously adults, folks that are kind of getting their stuff together. But I am speaking in universities, locally and in the state about what we do and things that we offer. So I think it's important to get the college students ready for entrepreneurship, the kids that want to do it. I personally feel that the most neglected part of the collegiate system is the community colleges and the junior colleges. They don't necessarily have the programming. You get it at the state schools and you get it at the universities, but it's really neglected at the community college level. So that is something that we're definitely targeting, and we're trying to crack that code. It's a very convoluted, political, we're just going to keep it 100, politically charged, I guess, industry or space, rather. So, yeah.
Is that something you're targeting for this year, like 2020 or like 2021?
So 2021, but we've spoken. So here in San Diego, we have the San Diego Unified School District has a thing called the African American Achievement Summit. And so we spoke there, and what I did was I took the Lean Canvas, if you guys are familiar with Lean Canvas model, but I kind of did a snippet with them with the kids, and we did a workshop, and basically I told them, you guys have 10 minutes to come up with an idea, and then you're going to split it between, you're going to break it up into 4 quadrants, right? So what is your product, right? I lost my train of thought. So what is your product? What is your target customer? Okay. What is your proposition value? What makes it different than your competitors? And how you're going to actually go about completing that task. So those are the 4 pillars. It's 9 really, but for the high school purposes, I just kept it short. And the funny thing is, within 10 minutes, they were pitching some ideas that were better than some pitch events I didn't see from founders that got funded, right? And these were Black kids. You know what I'm saying? We're brilliant at that. We're always brilliant at innovation. We're always, when it's something, like, we're always coming up with something new, right? The flip side of that is I actually did the same exercise when I was speaking at the NSB professional, the PDC, and I did the same exercise at that conference, and people were struggling. Like, and it was just, I learned, like, damn, adults be making stuff hard. Like, So it's just like it's very interesting when you run different type of experiments on adults versus kids. You come up with interesting, I guess, findings.
Adults, they have a filter that they may, have on, but kids, that could be unfiltered, unrestrained, and unrestricted.
Especially from their
Mhm.
creativity.
Right,
That's the key. Yeah. So I've noticed that.
right. And Luis, seems like there's someone else is in the background. It's kind of getting picked up on the mic a little bit.
Yeah.
Just
Sorry.
to let you know. Just let you know.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Okay. So another question for you is like, so how did you make this big transition from being a pro basketball player, being a veteran in the U.S. Navy, to now being an ecosystem builder? How did that transition occur?
So as you can see, I lived a very eclectic life so far. So my first love was basketball. So, grew up in New York. That's 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 just given. There's a basketball court on every corner. You know, um, that's just the way of life, especially growing up, in the '90s, throughout the '90s. And so, did that. Went to high school, went to college, played a little bit professional. Then some things happened in Europe and came back trying to figure out my life. Went back to school a little bit, working odd end jobs. I knew it wasn't me, and so I played in this tournament. And this guy that I knew, he said, "Hey man, what you doing?" And I'm just like, "I'm trying to figure it out." The overseas jobs, they were paying low salaries because everything was kind of getting diluted, and so it was crazy. So he was like, "Yo, I got my man. He coaches in the Navy, basketball in the Navy. So you should definitely talk to him." So we end up meeting, and he said, "Yeah, man, you can play basketball, and you can have a career, have a little bit of money in your pocket, and to save for your future when you get out, you can always go back to school, finish, blah blah blah." So I said, "All right, cool. That's what I'm gonna do." So I ended up enlisting in the Navy. My first year, ended up playing basketball. Did that for a while, and then they said, "Nah, you got to be a real sailor." So I end up getting assigned to a ship, and then I was here for a couple months. So I got here August 15th, 2008. Landed here, stayed here for a while. Then I ended up going to Maine. So I was stationed in Maine for a while, and that was an interesting situation, living in Maine. But I was close to home, so I was going home a lot. But then, because I was on a pre-com, and so what they call a pre-com ship is a ship that hasn't been built yet. And so we were going to Bath Iron Works, which is in Bath, Maine, and kind of going there, getting the ship ready. And then when the ship was done, we would take the ship back to San Diego. And obviously, we would go to different places on our way back. So did that, obviously, a couple years, got out, um, went back to school, trying to figure it out. Had some jobs. I worked with the U.S. Attorney's Office. I worked, different parts of government. I worked at MCRD, which is the Marine boot camp here in San Diego, because they have two boot camps. They have one here, and they have one in Paris Island. I think, yeah, Paris Island. So worked there for a while. Worked at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Did that. Then I was trying to figure out my life. And then as I was trying to figure out my life and, I didn't have a job, I was unemployed. So I learned from the first time I was in New York that I was unemployed that I can't sit and sulk and I had a couple months of that, but I couldn't sit and sulk and complain and, drown in my sorrow. So I said, I got to get out there. I got to talk to people and connect with people. And that's how people, get jobs and stuff like that. So started to do that, and then found myself volunteering in the startup space, right? And I didn't know anything, so people would always see me and they would go, "Hey, Luis, like, well, what's going on? Do you have a startup?" Or I'm like, "Nah, I ain't got nothing. I'm just, just here, being here." But at the same time, I was taking notes. Like, I was like, okay, okay, this person is a gatekeeper for this person. So I was getting to know who's who. And the relationships were more authentic because I wasn't trying to get anything out of them. Like I didn't have no startup or nothing, right? The closest thing I was trying to get it was a job maybe. But that's different when you're trying to raise money or anything like that. So, and then that grew. And then I got involved, like I said, with Startup San Diego. And then after I volunteered for a while, I was like, hey, why isn't there any diversity and inclusion in your programming for Startup Week? And so they were like, okay, we don't have it. We don't know what to do. So you figure it out. And so I did the programming. I did all the curriculum, the content, and got the people and did it. And people were ecstatic. The level of individuals that we recruited to come locally, they were like, damn, this was great. They loved the content. And so I kind of grew upon that, kind of grew my name locally in the space. And then I ended up becoming chapter director of Startup Grind San Diego. And so I just used the skills that I was doing in that to put into Startup Grind. And so Startup Grind at the time was dead for like four years or something like that. Nobody was doing events on it. It was just sitting there dead. I ended up bringing that back, and the way I did it was I went to different spaces. So before, people would just had it at one space, right? So people would just have it at the co-working space, and no matter who was the guest speaker, right, they were there. And so what I did was, no. I'm going to go to the individual's workplace or office and do the event. And so the customer or the attendees, they get a different feel every month, right? So basically what it is it can be different things now, but when I first got it, it was mainly fireside chats. So we would have a one-on-one conversations with founders or contributors that were locally based. And so my thing was, I don't want to be the one talking all the time, right? So I want to invite other people. If you come to me and say, hey, I want to interview blah, 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 I'm like, okay, make it happen. You do the interview. That's cool. So I got a couple people who did interviews. It was great. I ended up on average, it went from getting 6, 7, 8 people to come from the previous director to now I'm getting 45, 47, 30. So at minimum, I'm getting 30 people to come to an event. And so it fluctuates depending on who it is. Some people are more popular than others, but I always try to get individuals that are well known and that'll put butts in seats. And so that's important because the more butts in seats, obviously, the more money it is for the chapter, and you get to keep that and generate that to buy other things, such as food and drinks and get sponsors and stuff like that. So that's the way we grew it, and so that was fine, obviously, until COVID, and so I had to figure that out, and so I just now started to figure that out. So I'm starting to contact people saying, hey, we're going to get started back up. We're going to do virtual, obviously, and then we'll see where that goes. So I've used all of these things to start Be the Plug. So Startup Grind helped me, get the Startup Grind job. Startup San Diego helped me get the Startup Grind gig. And then the Startup Grind, because of the connections I made there. And also, I'm the chair for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for Startup Grind. So being in contact with the VCs and just meeting so many industry leaders in that, I was able to start Read the Plug and still have the connections, which made us go global. So just doing that work. So it makes sense. So when people say, oh, how do you know? Because of the things that I've done, and I've gradually, I basically, climbed a ladder per se, right? It was step by step. It wasn't like I did it and boom, there was a process behind it. So.
I definitely like that strategy of going to different places to host different events. A lot of new people come into your city. They want to, they want to go out and do stuff. They want to learn the city. That's a great tactic for being able to do that or help them in that capacity. This year, we've seen a kind of a mainstream effort or a call to action for better policing policy and general awareness that Black Lives Matter. Do you feel as though more diverse tech innovation and better opportunities could be a solution in a big way?
I would say the PC answer is yes. But once you peel back the onion, I just see a lot of people complaining. And we can't have a victim mindset when it comes to what we're not getting, right? We understand what the issues are already. We understand them. We understand Black and brown founders are only getting 1%. The one thing I like to say about the 1% that nobody wants to hear is that the 1% is coming from the Ivy Leaguers and the HBCU grads. But the HBCU grads don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They're like, oh, no, we're different. No. You're privileged. You're in that boat. You don't want to be, but you are. So, and people, they feel some kind of way about that. But the numbers don't lie. Like, that's what it is. And so we have to come into it with a we belong attitude, right? And listen, another thing I might say that might be funny, but when it comes down to it, if your innovation is popping and it's traction, all these so-called racist VCs, right? Because they look at things from a monetary value. Can you give me my money back? Can you have a 10-time return investment on things? So all that, how you feel, it goes out the window for them. They go like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I might not like him or her, but you know what? They're gaining traction. And that's just what it is. You know, money. You know the saying, money talks, and the rest can go somewhere else. So we just have to come at it with just do our thing. There are plenty of Black organizations that are doing other things, and that you can actually be a part of and help contribute in some way, shape, or form. And so a lot of times it's kind of like what Issa Rae had said something maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. She had said that there are so many people that are trying to, connect up, right? Instead of using the people that they already have to their left and right. And so, and it was something along those lines, but we need to start using the people that we know and we have, aka our networks, right? Our direct networks. Use them. Like, I mean, people are always. It's a very interesting topic, but I'll just say, as long as we are focused and not, our minds are not off somewhere else worrying about other stupidness, then I'm pretty sure we'll be okay. And where that comes in, I have to say this. I definitely have to say this. They're worried about the venture capital part. But what's happening is no one is learning how to run an actual business. Just because I can go, listen, anyone and myself, I can go raise $200 million right now, right? And I can say, okay, we got $200 million. I can go hire developers, designers, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean I know how to run a business. I just got a lot of money and I know what to do with it. But that's different than running a business. You can't be sustainable if you don't understand how to build a business. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's kind of like drug dealing, right? When you drug dealing, you get to a certain point where you got to ask yourself, are you a drug dealer or are you a hustler? Because a drug dealer only deals drugs. Hustler can hustle anything. And not hustle like in a bad sense, but just put your focus and energy on what it is that you're doing. So once you understand that, oh, I'm a hustler. All right, so we got to learn how to be better at the business part. We got to be better at the customer service part. We got to be better at a whole bunch of other things. And so this is what We The Plug is based off of, those fundamentals, because that's sorely lacking. You see it all out in the energy and the tech and innovation space. Everyone's talking about access to capital. Everyone's talking about we need money. Yo, how about we learn how to make money and keep it? And I'm always in the camp of venture capital being in the last resort. So.
Yeah, that's interesting right there. So, I mean, like you said, you should just use your circle around you. So, like any like the pre-seed funding, are you saying like get it from family, friends, that type of thing?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, all right.
That's not what I'm saying.
All right.
It's definitely not what I'm saying.
All right.
I know where you was going with that.
Well, you say you're right?
No.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that you have people. When I mean that theoretically, to your right and left. So let me dive in on that. So there are different programs for entrepreneurs that are low cost or free, right? There are just your basic education knowledge, period, right? Then you have your programs where you can use college students that are looking for credit to do certain things. So there's different ways to skin a cat, is what I'm trying to say. Use your college resources. Use your programs that are in your city. So that's what I'm saying. And then use those resources to be creative to build your product, right? And so that's what I'm saying. Now, obviously, the friends and family thing, that's a whole nother conversation because we ain't got it. That's just that we're just going to keep it a buck. We ain't got it. But just because we don't have it, see, this is the thing. People say we don't have it. We understand that. But that doesn't mean you stop. And so that's where people get stuck at. But we ain't got it. We're always, behind. Yeah, it's true. It's true. But after it's true, you recognize it's true, then what? What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's a struggle. Okay, we understand that. Okay, after that, what you going to do? You know what I'm saying? So there are many creative ways to skin a cat. With me personally, when I started with the plug, I didn't have no income. Times were hard. I still started it. I used my resources, and this is where the startup San Diego and using those connections and startup Brian came in, where I'm like, okay, I need space for an event. Oh, no problem. Like, I know what you're doing. And I use that to get me to a certain point. So it's all about being strategic in your moves, And so more people are willing to help you if you are, if you're giving value. And so too many people are not giving value. So, and that's why they're not getting the results that they need, or they're hitting a wall when they're trying to do something. It's just gimme, instead of saying, what can I do for you? How can I offer you value? And people see your value, and people are like, oh man, I see now. There's so many people that when I first started, they were like, well, I don't really see the value. Okay, cool. It wasn't until other people started validating me, right? When people came back, they circled, hey, so, I went around and your name's being mentioned, and I just want. So that's how that happens. So, yeah. So I could go on and on about it, but but yeah.
Thanks for clarifying.
Oh, no doubt.
Boys, the year is 2020. If this was 2010 and you knew exactly what you know right now, would you still go around the same method or a way of getting to where you are right now?
Probably. I'm 99.999 sure that I would, because by nature I'm a grinder. Like that's just me, and I'm gonna find a way. That's just who I am. And so, me and my background, growing up in New York City, growing up during the crack era, witnessing that, being dibbling, dabbling in those spaces a little bit, my experiences are different. And so I understand if I can make it through that, right, what we're going through is just temporary. And so, yeah, I lost my train of thought. But what was your question again?
Like, I guess what I'm really getting at is, what piece of advice would you give yourself 10 years ago to get to where you are right now?
I would probably, I would say network more. 10 years ago, I didn't want to be bothered with nobody. I was in the Navy 10 years ago. I didn't want to be bothered with nobody. I didn't want to be social. I didn't care about none of that. So I would say be social. I mean, yeah, be social, because that's how you get networks. So it's when I stopped doing that and actually started being social and putting myself out there is when things, simultaneously started to happen. So that's one thing I would tell myself.
All right. Makes sense. So ultimately, what would define successful for We The Plug? Like, what's the defining goal, or what would be like, yeah, We The Plug, we did it. Like, how would you know you're on top of the world?
Well, shit, I probably would never really think that, because I'm always like, okay, we could do this better. We could do that better. I'm always, very critical, even when we think it's success. And so my business partner is the exact same way. She is, we could do something. We could be excited. We'll take that day to, celebrate. And the very next day I get we got to fix this. We got to sharpen this up. And so that's just how I am. And so, yeah, you can always be better, man. You can always. So success for us would be, in the short term, it would be having this incubator, which we're going to have. I mean, the expert trainers that we're going to have is going to be top notch. We're going to have marketing execs from Capitol Records. We're going to have Angel Rich. We're going to have some executives from BET, Environment. So we're going to bring the value to the table. And so the satisfaction would really be founders getting value from that, implementing that into their business, and them really propelling to the next level. Whatever level they're at, I want them to get to that next level. So if they don't have employees, I want them to get employees, et cetera. So that would be the short-term success for Me The Plug. The long-term would be us having 10,000 people on the platform, conversing, meeting with each other. There's different workshops going on within the platform. Also, we have our events. And then we also have We The Incubator, which we're going to do. So we're going to have once COVID ends and we can go back to our normal lives, we're going to have a local incubator. And then the accelerator that we're going to do online is going to be pushed to an accelerator program. And so We The Plug is going to focus on events and that aspect of the accelerator. Then we have another portion of We The Culture. So We The Culture is going to be, more content based. So we want to record the stories of entrepreneurs, because the stories are not being told enough. And so my COO, she has a series called the Cafecito series. And so she interviews the everyday entrepreneur. On the flip hand, I just started a LinkedIn live series called The Psychology of the Black Entrepreneur. And so I actually started that series 2 years ago. And I kind of put it on pause to build this. And so I wanted to kind of bring it back around. And so what I'm doing every Thursday is I'm interviewing Black entrepreneurs, just to talk about the process of building and just talking about the ideation. So the idea and the execution. Excuse me. So the idea and then the execution. And so it's specifically honing in on those areas. And so I'm going to turn that into a podcast and a YouTube channel. So, yeah. And so that's how we're going to do that. And then we're going to package that and kind of get some ideas for some media stuff. And so eventually we're going to turn We the Culture into a media company. And then we're going to throw some projects out and go from there. And so we were actually going to do an event with DreamWorks and NBC, but then that situation failed because of COVID. So those are the things, those are going to be the long-term successes of We the Plug, which we're starting to kind of plant those seeds now.
Wow, it's a great story, and I see your track. I see your brand is building all these different outlets you're going to take your business. Wow. What's the best way people can reach out to you, like social media, whatever, email? So
you can reach out to me. My email is Luis@WeThePlug, so that's WETHAPLUG.com. You can also reach me at Instagram, so that's Lucito, LUISITO, _entrepreneur. That's my Instagram. Luis Martinez MSOL at Twitter. My Twitter, go at your own risk, because I throw my opinions out and people don't like them. So what? So also you can go to our membership. So our website is WeThePlug.com, and you can go to our membership icon on there, and you can also sign up for our membership, which is growing every day. And soon we're going to be out of beta and getting into membership and have our incubator. So applications for the incubator is actually going to go out Friday on the 21st, I believe. Yes, Friday the 21st. And we're going to be looking for 10 companies that they have something, but they're not exactly there as far as getting ready to get funding and looking for ways to generate revenue. So we're looking for those kind of companies to where it's not ideation, but you're a little bit past that. And so we're going to give them so much resources and insight from our expert trainers. And yeah, so.
Yeah, we definitely thank you for being part of the podcast today. Definitely dropped a lot of jewels and knowledge. We definitely appreciate everything you're doing for the culture, for the Black and Latinx community. Yeah, you're definitely one, and Be the Plug is definitely one of the organizations that we'll definitely be following and expecting many great things in the future.
Yeah, appreciate that. And also, I'm also going to be part of the conference that you guys are doing as well. So
nice.
Definitely, I'm going to be doing the assumption matrix, which people they don't know about. They know about a little bit about lean innovation, but not the assumption matrix. So
okay,
look out for that as well. So
definitely, I look forward to it. And again, thank you for your time and sharing everything, man.
Sure, for sure, no problem, man. You guys have a good one, man, and I'll definitely be looking out for you guys' podcast, for sure.
All right.
That wraps up this episode of the Disrupted Podcast by Minority Innovation Weekend. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe. Check us out online at www.minorityinnovationweekend.org and connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. MIW 2020 is coming up on Saturday, October 3rd to the 4th, so head on over to www.minorityinnovationweekend.org and register for MIW 2020 today.